Welcome back. The Estill Chevrolet Cadillac pregame show continues. It is time. I had a coach who used to say the final conflict, but that sounds way too dramatic. But the simple fact is, it's one game for a conference championship. You've got unbeaten Tenora welcoming once beaten Paulding in a match that everybody is looking forward to. Our thanks going out to Estill Chevrolet Cadillac, located on North Clinton Street in Defiance. We got to get those guys to a game sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe do a coach's, I don't know, you want to call it a weekend comp. Maybe an Escalade for you to drive around town for the weekend. Conference champ. That would probably have a good ring to it. Put it on the side of the door panel. What do you think?
That'd be okay, yes.
You heard that, guys? He's not denying one if you want to offer it. First things first, though, we're joking around with Coach Lymanstall. It's been a long grind. There's an old phrase in sports in particular. The days are long, but the seasons are short. We're getting ready for the next to the last regular season ball game here in your own gym, but I want to ask you to rewind. Does it seem like the last 2.5 months have been exceptionally long, or have they disappeared pretty much in the blink of an eye?
No, it went pretty quick. I think we've had a lot of fun with what we're doing this year, and we try to stay in the moment, day to day, and they seem to keep flying by. So here we are, right where we want to be. We'll see if we can finish it off.
One game for a conference championship. That's what this team has in front of it. That's what this team has earned tonight. But just because you deserve it doesn't mean you won't have to earn it. I'm sure you don't need to give a big, fiery locker room speech, but what has the message been to your team this week?
Pretty much just be who we are. We've gotten to this point in the season by concentrating on those little things. Each game plan is not anything extravagant. It's usually about us and doing the little things well and seeing if we can go out and execute.
Connor Welling made an interesting comment in our last broadcast last week about the maturity of this year's team. That's not to say last year didn't have it, but he said maybe more across the board instead of one or two guys like you had last year. It seems like everybody in a uniform this year gets it, for lack of a better term. You're nodding yes. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's not just the seniors being mature, but they expect it out of the younger guys, and the younger guys kind of fall in line. They're not a vocal group. Adam, Connor, and Alex aren't a vocal group. They lead by, by example, but it's, from a day to day, but it's also, they demand that and expect that from you, and if you're not giving it, then we move on to somebody else.
This is as open-ended as I can make it, but looking back over the last 2.5 months, where would you say this team has made its most improvement? Any particular area?
I would say consistency defensively. We're stringing stops together. Offensively, during the first part of the year, we were seeing a lot of man-to-man, and our circle offense was, executing at a high level. We were pretty efficient. The last few weeks, we've seen a lot of zones. So early on, we weren't necessarily shooting it that well. I'd say we've been shooting it fairly well for the last 3 weeks.
We've talked about this team's defense and maybe how it hasn't received the credit that it deserves at that end of the court. You're allowing on average about 38.5 points per ball game. Paulding comes in, and they're not necessarily a track meet, but they're averaging about 54 points per ball game. So where's Baby Bear's porridge, so to speak? Knowing that they'll get theirs, but at the same time, if you play solid defense, is there a line of demarcation in your mind that if you hold them to this amount, we feel confident walking out of here with a win?
Well, we look at certain things like possession by possession in terms of keeping them out of transition. That's where there seems to get their separation. They like to get deflections, and their defense kind of triggers their offense, so to speak, and they get open threes in transition. They get to the rim in transition. So tempo is a big key for us. If we can do those things, give ourselves a chance in the half court, make them guard like we want to, then we should be okay.
You've been very good, if not flat out excellent, at the high school level as far as being boss with the ball. You're only averaging about 10 turnovers a ball game, and you're almost +1 in assists. So I don't want to say if you take care of the ball, those things will take care of themselves, but is that an oversimplification or is that accurate?
No, it's very accurate. I mean, that's what Paulding likes to do. They like to get their deflections. They like to get out in the open floor. If we can make it a half-court game and try to execute in the half-court, it's not necessarily that we got to be patient in terms of throwing the ball around for a minute and a half possessions. It's be patient enough to give your guy a chance to basically screw up or gain an advantage on him to see if we can get the dominoes falling.
Look, they're not unlike you. They don't have that 20-point per game scorer. Obviously, Roanhouse is the leader at 16 points per game. But if you look up and down that roster, much like Tenor, you're going to see a slew of guys at 7, 8, 9 points. I'll ask you, without giving away the game plan, who draws Roanhouse? How do you at least slow him down tonight?
Yeah, Connor's taken the most prestigious guard all year long in each game. But again, across the board, they probably have as many weapons as anybody that we've really faced. They're very, very well balanced, inside, outside. If you concentrate too much on the outside, then they can hit the gaps and drive. And they got a Barton kid inside that can really, play with his back to the basket. And he's really good with their high ball screen action. And
he's a space senior.
And Roanhouse and him have a lot of chemistry, and catching him rolling, or they do a lot of pick and pop action for shots. So, yeah, they present a lot of problems inside and outside.
You wouldn't have it any other way, though, right? The two best going after it for a conference championship.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in the year, this is right where you want to be. Both teams, hope to be playing their best leading into the tournament.
All right, Coach, as always, look, I appreciate it on a personal level.
Yeah.
You giving me access to the program, to practices, to the players. One more time, Good luck.
Thank you.
Coach Lymanstall joining us. We're going to take a quick timeout. Our player profile, a man who has a lot to say, but he uses an economy of words. We'll find out what we're talking about. Adam Spichala when we return. You're watching the Estill Chevrolet Cadillac pregame show on DCTV Sports.